We're live. Okay.
Good morning. I apologize for the delay, technical issues, but we're here in person, and it's a good thing we record everything. You haven't missed anything if you're hearing this. So members of the public are invited to participate in this meeting of council by accessing the meeting, which will be live streamed on our Middlesex Centre YouTube channel, or by contacting the municipal clerk to receive a registration link to join the meeting electronically. Members of the public may also attend the meeting in person at the Ilderton Community Centre located at 13168 Ilderton Road in Ilderton. The municipality of Middlesex Centre recognizes that we are gathering on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenni Lenape peoples. We acknowledge the enduring presence of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people on this land and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Our neighboring First Nation communities, which continue to live as sovereign nations, include the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. There are no additions to the October 4th agenda. I'll move to disclosures of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have a conflict to declare? Seeing none, then we can move on. We have no delegations. Oopsie, there we go. So I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder that the minutes of Middlesex Centre Council meeting held on September 20th, 2023 be adopted as printed. Thank you, Councillor Shipley, Councillor Heffernan, all in favor, and that is carried. We have 7 items on our consent agenda this morning. Is there anything here that anyone wants to speak of? I'm thinking we have a couple of reports and policies. Yes, Councillor Heffernan, thank you.
Through the mayor to Rob, I was just wanting clarification on the tree policy. So if a tree needs to be removed on municipal property or right of way for a purpose because of rot or because of construction, do they have to be replaced? And if so, in what approximate area would they be?
So through Madam Mayor to Councillor Heffernan, so you're asking if they were removed by for municipal purposes or for private purposes? So
municipal, I think, by what I read, private purposes like a driveway had to go in. Municipality would take it down, but at the cost of, right? So I'm thinking municipal.
Yeah, so the two sides. So if we take it down for a private purpose, so such as a driveway or the utility has relocations and they have to be removed, the intent is to get compensation for those trees. Put those into a reserve fund where we can do replanting work. If there's trees taken down for municipal construction projects, there's obviously no cost to that other than our labor. The replanting, we're trying to identify locations within municipal properties where we can do replanting work. Replanting in the right of ways is not ideal depending on locations. Like on the Hyde Park, for example, where we have some extra width because of the realignment, there's probably an opportunity to do some replanting there. But on your standard 20-meter wide road allowance in a rural cross section, we would typically not want to do a lot of replanting, at least not on the front edge of the ditch. It'd be on the back side. So right now we're trying to compile a list of locations where we think are appropriate to do planting within the municipality.
Anyone else? Councillor Cates.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Rob. Me too on the trees. I thought that it was great. And the inventory and asset of the trees and the intact insurance example with the 5-foot tree and 2 inches were on the municipal property, but when it was planted, it was probably a stick. And so it over many time grew there. And so it made me think your inventory and asset list of trees, you're going to have to be, really on the watch for trees that might have grown onto the municipal property. But anyways, I thought that it was great, and I'll add, I'd love to see more trees in the parks. Thank you.
I don't see any more hands, and in that case, then the motion before us is that item 7.1 through 7.5, listed under the heading of consent agenda for October 4th, 2023, be adopted as recommended. Councillor Burrs and Councillor Cates, all in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to staff reports, the first item here, I'm going to move to 8.2, which is the indoor aquatic facility. That would be Scott, your report, if you'd like to take that now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report is just for information. Just want to note that there's no initial plans or anything for an indoor aquatic facility as of yet, but coming out of the Community Services Master Plan, we did hear a significant amount of feedback, and through the surveys, et cetera, of those wanting an indoor pool in the community. And certainly most recently, the 2024 budget survey also spoke to this. There's a number of comments that were captured in the budget survey highlighting those who felt there was a need for an indoor aquatic facility here in the municipality. So the intent for this is again just to provide information to council. So as noted in the 2022 master plan, there was again demand for an indoor aquatic facility, and the recommendation coming out of that report was to reconsider this in 2022. When we did the 2017 Ilderton Indoor Facility Needs Study, that was captured again. We did touch on this as looking at the replacement of the arena, and again, the topic came up through that master plan. In both projects, Monteith Brown, who was their consultant during that project, recommended we would need to be a population of 40,000 people in order to support a municipal pool. That's typically the threshold that would be needed to do that, and we're obviously a far cry from that amount. And then through certainly through the last year's Community Services Master Plan, it was a recommendation for us to do this analysis, just so we can provide council and the community with an idea of what that impact would be to the tax levy and so on. So what we did, we took advantage of Western University's and did an exercise for us. Sean Miller, our financial analyst, and myself were on the project team, and with an objective to understand the costs and the benefits that would be associated with having an indoor aquatic facility in Middlesex Centre. So the project team looked at a few different estimation methods. We used the St. Mary's Pyramid Recreation Complex as a benchmark. It's an indoor pool that is local. It's somewhat rural. It does pull from other municipalities like the city of Stratford and so on. And we use that as our as a guide for our what the cost would be. To give you a sense of that facility, it's a 4-lane, 25-meter pool with a smaller leisure pool on the side for training. And it would be typical to what we would see here. If we were to build something, that would be a typical size, and that's a standard pool. So when looking at all of the costs, we based on the scope of work or the looking at that facility, the design fees alone would be estimated at $677,000. The construction costs would be somewhere over $9 million, and then with a contingency fund of $1.3 million. So a total construction build would be about $11 million, certainly approximate. when we did this exercise, this was just for a standalone indoor pool. Obviously, we would never build to that. We would attach it to some sort of multiplex or larger center. But we just wanted to give a sense of, a snapshot of what the pool would cost to build. And looking at the operating costs, our insurance, and a lot of this again is based off of the work, pulling information from St. Mary's, looking at our own internal costs for things. Insurance would be approximately $30,000 annually. Trainings and memberships, just under $5,000. We would need some sort of an operations coordinator or supervisor or something, a staff member in that capacity, at approximately $97,000, and then a facility operator, full-time facility operator, at $87,000. These are based on, these costs were calculated at our salary grid, our current salary grid amount. Only 92,000 chemicals each year for that's for chlorine, CO2, various chemicals to bring down or to balance the water. Is 20,000. Supplies at about 4,700. Programs expenses 11,000. Those are things like certifications. Obviously, we would have to align ourselves with either Red Cross or Life Saving Society to do the certification. So those are all the badges and the report cards and all that. Repairs and maintenance, estimated at around $78,000. That's again going off of St. Mary's. That might be a bit high, but their pool, although it's not that old, has required a significant amount of work over the last 10 years. And then our lifeguard and instructor wages, we'd be looking at about $140,000. So at a high level, our variable costs are around $350,000 just to operate the facility. So with the total capital costs of 11 million, total operating costs of 568,000. Those are again very high level costs. We could look at benchmarking other municipalities, but I want to stress that needle may move a little bit one way or another. But I think what we wanted to highlight here was it would be a significant investment for the municipality if we were to go down this road. From a revenue standpoint, looking at the registrations, anticipated registrations, hard to do at this level. So we did base this on the St. Mary's registration numbers. I do have to say their numbers are strong for a small community. They're a community of 7,000 people, but I think what we have to remember is they draw a lot from other neighboring municipalities. Specifically, the west end of Stratford is a heavy user of their program, as is their swim clubs. They have a significant amount of rentals through that. So the registrations, we'd be looking at a total of anticipated registrations of 8,520 registrations annually. So what that makes, swimming lessons make up 15% of that. Open swims such as recreational swims, etc., are 80%, and then the pool rentals are 5%. So you really rely on the drop-in swim, and at $5 a person, it takes a lot to make up those funds. In your presentation, I won't go through them, but there's a number of we've broken down the types of swimming lessons from parent-child to preschool, swimmer 1 to 4, etc. And it breaks down a little bit more of that revenue and the percentage of each programs within that. So I won't go into too much detail there, but happy to answer any questions on that. And the same goes for open swim. Again, their pool rentals have been a very strong supporter, or of beefing up their revenues. not sure. I think there'd be some interest here for some of the local swim clubs down in London, but I don't think we would rely on them the same as they do at St. Mary's. So overall, our total revenue, if we're looking at our swim lessons, open swim, and pool rentals, we'd be looking at somewhere, just over $200,000 in revenue for this. So the final results to this are with our capital costs of 11 million, a little over that. Our operating costs of 568,000 and total revenue of 201. We annually we'd be losing approximately $366,000 annually just to operate the facility. So when we break that down into the tax levy impact, the construction portion of this, we'd be looking at a 3.9% tax levy impact overall, and from an operating perspective, a 1.6% levy impact annually to operate the facility. So happy to answer any questions, but again, just wanted to provide council with that information. Certainly more we can discuss, but again, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report. I'm going to look to council, and I think I see a lot of hands. I'll start with Councillor Burrs, and we can work our way around.
Thank you. So can you explain the 3.9% tax levy? Is that ongoing one time? It's not one time. It's ongoing, right? See where it says capital cost 11,061,750, tax levy 3.9%. Can you explain that, Scott? Is that an ongoing tax levy? Like, well, it says net loss annual, but that would be 1.6% going on every year. But what's the 3.9? Is that a one-time hit? Probably not on the tax levy. If you can't explain it, it's okay. But just the 1.6 annual net loss is significant to us. I can just let that go. I'm hopeful that we can put this to bed for a while and not bring it back up, even though comments come every now and then that we should have a pool. You got to hook it to something, and our issue right now is the Ilderton Marina. That's it. No other comments, so I'll leave that.
Thank you, through you. Time. I just want to kind of reiterate a couple of things that you already said. The 11 million, I'm understanding it that is just if we were going to plunk a pool in an already existing. That's no building or anything to put it. It's just the pool, is how I'm understanding it. And the showed the 366 annual loss, 1.6% of the tax levy. That's big. So anyways, and I think the other point is with the 40,000 population. I know you and I have talked lots before about a pool, and now here we have it in a report, and we can share it when we need to. So thank you very much.
I saw Debbie's hand. Go ahead, Councillor Heffernan.
Through the mayor, just a comment. Yeah, I'm really glad. I echo Councillor Burrs and Councillor Cates that it's good to have the numbers, because then when people ask about it, we can't afford it. Just for fun, I kind of compared it to the City of London, and they have 4 pools that are owned by the city for a population of 423,000. I think that's the latest sign, which means that they have an indoor pool for 110,000 population. And there are 2 other pools, but they're run by the YMCA, so they're with the complex. And plus, I think also what plays here is we have a large geographical area. So if the east side, Arva and Bryanston, all that, they're closer to the London pool, to the YMCA over there. you know, I think that would be an issue. And I know actually St. Mary's, I'm actually surprised, but then they're drawing from Stratford because there isn't a pool in Stratford or not on this side anyway. But, you know, so I think this is a very good report. Thank you for doing it. So it's done for now.
Okay, is there anyone else? I just wanted to add one thing or just clarify one thing too. Again, I thought the report was thorough and well done. And it kind of leverages the points that Councillor Heffernan was making and the distance to and who's going where. With 40,000 people, if you look our geographic distribution, the other question is, if you put the pool in X, then the people who live in Z have a 40-minute drive to get there. If you put it in Y and it's down there, then it's A takes 40 minutes to get there. One of the reports we had previously referenced so the catchment area and who goes where. And when we looked at Wonderland, Southdale, and Sunningdale, the number of residents who are proximate to a pool now includes a good proportion of our population. So not only are we taking a risk in building something and hoping that 100% of our residents actually come with 40,000 if we get there, which is highly unlikely given geographic dispersion and all the other factors, then that even puts another layer of complexity and probably a downward curve on any return on quote investment here. So I think it's pretty clear. If anyone has questions about this, we have now got all kinds of detail that we can explain right down to, are you prepared for, 5.5% levy increase to cover this kind of costs? So thank you to staff. We do have a motion before us that report CMS 09-2023 regarding the indoor aquatic facility cost benefit analysis be received as information. Councillor Cates and Councillor Shipley, all in favor? And that is carried. We're going to go back now to 8.1, and our clerk is going to provide a review of the procedural bylaw.
Well, thank you through the chair. Good morning, everyone. By way of background, a procedural bylaw, beyond being a requirement of legislation, sets out and establishes the rules which help to make our council meetings run efficiently. Just as importantly, the bylaw provides council on guidance on how council, staff, and the public interact through formal meetings. These established procedures help to ensure consistency, fairness, and surrounding the management of our meetings. And it also fosters respectful conduct for all our participants. So why now? Why are we doing this review now? The current Middlesex Senate procedural bylaw was adopted in 2017, and it was amended in 2020 to allow for electronic meetings to be held as a result of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic at that time. Since 2017, there's been a number of legislative changes that have necessitated updates to the bylaw. And further, this has just been an opportunity to apply some best practices around agenda processes, meeting notice requirements, and participation at meetings. So the clerk's team embarked on a review of our current bylaw in 2022, and we've identified a number of recommended improvements and updates that are within the bylaw before you today. The process involves consultation with some of our area municipality partners, agency partners at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and groups such as the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario and the Association of Ontario Municipalities. So today what I'm going to do is provide a very high-level review of some of the key changes and updates that are detailed in the staff report. The staff report also contains a breakdown of the changes along with a red line version of the bylaw. Jumping right into things, under Section 2 definitions, we made some additions to the bylaw to define key roles throughout. Some of those updates included council roles such as chair, CAO, and clerk. Based on some feedback received, a definition for point of order and point of privilege will also be added to the bylaw. Under Section 4 for meetings, provisions have been added to provide clarity on meeting types, including inaugural, special, and electronic meetings of council. A new category for statutory public meetings has also been added. And of note, the start time for regular evening meetings of council is recommended to be moved to 5:30 p.m. from its current start time of 6 p.m. On the topic of electronic meetings, Many Ontario municipalities, including us here at Middlesex Centre, have received a lot of feedback, which indicates that both members of council and other meeting participants are appreciative of the option to participate in meetings electronically. As evidenced here at Middlesex Centre, the move to electronic meetings held fully or in part by electronics means has increased access to open meetings of council, and it's increased our levels of participation. And we can see that in our viewership and our number of people that jump on the calls electronically. It's a benefit to everyone. It encourages that participation and it offers choice. So what this bylaw intends to do is include the appropriate provisions to permit these sort of meetings to be held on a go-forward basis and for everyone to participate. On the notice side, provisions have been added just to strengthen and clarify the requirements for how and when members, staff, and the public are notified of upcoming meetings. And with respect to delegations, there's a number of changes that have been recommended to provide clarity around which items a member of the public may register to speak to, how to go about completing that registration process, and the associated timelines with speaking to council. Finally, there's a number of procedural matters that are addressed in the bylaw, specifics of motions which may take precedence over one another. All of this is designed to assist the chair and members in dealing with the business of council and dispensing business as it comes before this council. So with that, should council choose to endorse this bylaw, it would come into effect immediately, meaning that on a go forward from the time of endorsement following meeting, the new procedural bylaw and its contents would take effect. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'm happy to dive into any of the bylaw areas where there might be questions. Thank you.
And thank you for that report. I will look to council for questions, comments, clarifications. Nope, I don't have anybody. Okay, so in that case, yes. Okay, so the motion before us is the report CLK 09-2023 regarding procedural bylaw review be received, and that the draft procedural bylaw attached as Appendix A be approved as amended. Could I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Brennan, Councillor Cates, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so on with the new next meeting. Thank you very much. Moving on to 8.3, replacement plow purchase. I'll look to our Public Works and Engineering Department to provide the overview of that report. Where's yours, Rob?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through Mayor to the rest of council. So this report, this is pretty straightforward. So in the 2023 capital budget, we included a replacement plow truck for the value of $550,000 in the budget. In getting pricing through the LAS system again, looking at pricing and availability, that's been very difficult to get a firm pricing from manufacturers and a build slot as well. So what we found was that the Vision Truck Group were able to provide that, but at a cost of $578,522. That's including the non-refundable portion of the HST. But that leaves us with a budget overage of just over $28,000 compared to our approved 2023 capital budget. So we're looking for approval from council to proceed with the order of that truck because it gives us price certainty, even though it won't be delivered likely until 2025. It does provide that price certainty over that time period, so we don't look at further inflational challenges. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you for the report. I'll look to council for questions. Councillor Shipley.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Rob. Rob, I guess my concern is we're looking at a 224 or 225 truck. Are we going to be locked into that price if we get a 225 truck? Like we're looking 2 years down the road now.
Yeah, so the proposal that's been put forward is that it depends when the build slot comes up, but the proposal is that the price is fixed. That's why we want to proceed with it, is that this is the dollar we pay whether we get it at the end of 2024 and regardless of which model it is.
Okay, thank you. I was just concerned that we're 2 years down the road, but that's fine. I was locked in. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Councillor Burrs.
Thank you. Through you to Rob. So when we sat in on the first budget meeting, Rob, just to explain the purchase process. So we have to buy a chassis. So the chassis come to these manufacturers from automakers, right? They build it, the powertrain, and we're required to pay for that chassis up front and commit to it. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't know if you're probably getting a 2025 truck, but then you go into, these are all custom truck builders. So they take the chassis and they put everything we want on it. So do I have that process correct? Is that basically it? And then costs are escalating over time, so they don't want to give you a solid, but what they want to give you is an estimate and then add on to it, right? So we're kind of lucky here to get somebody with a fixed cost. Okay, thank you.
If there's no one else, there is a motion before us that report PWE 40/2023 regarding the replacement plow truck purchase be received, and that the purchase of a new 2024 or 2025 Mack Granite plow truck be awarded to Vision Truck Group in the amount of $578,500.22, including non-refundable HST, and further that a budget overage of $28,522, including the HST, be approved. Could I have a mover, please, and a second? Councillor Cates and Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And that is carried. There are no notices of motion, so we can move on to correspondence. We have 6 items here. Is there anything that is of interest that should be highlighted? Any reports from CA people who were do you want to speak to anything?
To the Mayor, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, item 6.2 on their agenda. So they are looking at a policy position for encampments and unhoused people. They're concerned with safety when they try and move people along. So a draft policy is to be shared with the stakeholder groups, which we would be one, for approval or for assessment or whatever before it finally comes back to the UTRCA.
Any questions for the councillor on that? Okay, don't see any. If there's nothing else, then we do have motion before us. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just a quick note on the housing thing. As people exit today, if they look on the way out on the left-hand side, that's our 5 apartment buildings that are being built here in Ellerton. So anybody wants to see what it's looking like, and I will. I know the owner of it, so I will try to get a tour for us when it's complete, so we can have a look, see what each put there. So just a note, just to take a look on your way by.
Okay, thank you for that. If there isn't anything else, then for the correspondence, the motion before us is that the Council for the Municipality of Middlesex Centre receives the correspondence items 10.1 through 10.6 as information. And a mover, please, Councillor Burrs and Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, I'm going to move on to County Council update. I'll look to the deputy to provide the news.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. County is going through a review of their budget process, trying to implement a quicker resolution instead of us hearing in April or whatever. By 2025, they're hoping to have the budget presentation to County Council by January the 16th. So over the next few years, they're progressing, shortening the time frame and going to try to get it to us much quicker and have a budget approval early March. So that's a good thing to hear. We had a report from a speaker, Mr. Brian Hill, on truth and reconciliation. He's an Indigenous person who had family members go through the school system back then, and he spoke for 15 minutes, very informative, and let us know exactly how it's a multi-generational thing. It's just not the generation that went through it, but how it's affected generations beyond that. Land use planning, OPA 62, our request to have that approved was deferred for a month. Under the PPS, it's now apparent that any lands that have a treaty with the indigenous people, even if it's outside their catchment area, have to be consulted. So Chippewa of the Thames was not consulted on this, so now they have to be consulted. So Dirk is going to consult with them, and hopefully this will come back towards the end of October, and we can get it cleaned up and finished. Technology services, they're working on a wireless access policy, a malware protection, and information security policy for all employees. That's an ongoing procedure. They purchased a used 2016 float truck for $95,000 with a 1-year warranty on it. And Middlesex County continues with the partnerships for municipal innovation, women and local leadership. We have a committee that has gone abroad to talk with people, women in politics over there. And there's 2 trips. One has already happened, I believe, and there's another one for 7 to 15 days to a foreign country to talk to people there. And I'm not sure, I know the warden's involved in that. I'm not sure who else, but there's 2 or 3 people from the county are involved in that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any questions for the deputy? Okay, seeing none. The clerk has suggested that I do my monthly update now as well, as opposed to waiting until we come out of closed. So while we're on the chat mode here, September was a good month for meeting people and getting out there. On the 7th of September, I was at the Ontario Federation of Agriculture area meeting that was held at Donnybrook near Dorchester, and it was a really well-attended meeting and good speakers there. On the 8th, I was attending the Local Advisory Services Board meeting, and on the 9th, it was Middlesex Centre Day. We celebrated a quarter century since the amalgamations, and it was a great day. It was full of fun activities, really well attended. We had excellent weather and had good feedback from residents that they enjoyed the face painting and the dog show and the skate time. The Optimists in Kamoka were providing food, so it was great opportunity to work together and to bring people together. On the 14th, we celebrated the long service awards with our staff at the fire hall. And we continue to recognize the great contribution our staff make to how things run here and how well served our public is. So thanks to everyone who's been contributing. Over the past year or so, a group of women in the county have been working with a group called the Jean Collective. And on the September 16th, Saturday, there was a women's event. It was sold out, featured Christine Elliott as the keynote speaker. There was a panelist discussion as well as a community cafe exercise, and plans are already underway for the next one. On the 18th, I met with the medical officer of health and the CEO of the health unit to discuss public health as it relates to rural areas and gaps that exist in our healthcare services in general. And I did that because I'm working on the Ontario Health Task Force for health, and there are gaps, and we need to make sure we're filling those, and we can do that in a good organized way. So getting some input with respect to how things are working for our residents in the county and Middlesex Centre was a good opportunity to chat with the 2 people that know most about it. And on the 21st, the County Building Committee, as well as the Board of Health, Governance, and Performance Appraisal Committees meetings happened. That was a busy day. On the 19th, then the Kamoka Kilworth Business Association had a meeting for new companies and firms that have established themselves, as well as existing members, to visit at Vintners and get a tour. And the Vintners of Kilworth hosted us. It was a good event. I look forward to the next one. On the 28th and 29th, I was in Toronto with the AMO executive and county caucus and board meetings. And I saved the best for last. September 30th was the fair day here in Ilderton, and couldn't ask for a better day weather-wise. The crowds on the street were amazing. It was just packed. People were out in full force. Displays, the foods, the vendors, midway exhibits, cars, motorcycles. There was everything. Sheep and dairy. I visited, watched people get some awards. It was just a perfect day. And thanks to absolutely everyone who worked to make this happen. The volunteers and all of the groups of people. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. This is just, as I said on my Facebook page, community at its best. So great way to end the month. So the only other thing I want to highlight is that the AMO report on the Canada Community Building Fund, the CCBF, has just come out, and this report highlights how municipal governments across the province have spent money on and are investing in an infrastructure. There are examples of new builds and renewals, various enhancements. This is a good piece of work to read. If you get your hands on it, make a point of taking a look at it. It's well worth the time. With that, that's it. And now we have a motion. Oh, Debbie. Okay, Debbie's got an additional comment too. Go ahead, Debbie.
Through the mayor, I just wanted to bring to the attention of council, if you have not already heard, CIBC in Ilderton is reportedly to be closed effective April 4th. This has been an anchor in the community for 95 years. This closing will affect small businesses, farmers, residents, particularly seniors, and quite possibly see our growth plans in the immediate settlement area compromised to a certain extent, as having a viable bank in town was a draw for many new residents. And as the mayor mentioned, at the Ilderton Fair, there was tons of people there, and the rural grapevine certainly filled everything in. So people are not happy. I heard a lot. Not that there's anything we can specifically do. I think those affected are going to try and start a letter campaign. Any support from the municipality would be appreciated, but we understand that other than zoning and compliance, private business is private business. But it is a huge loss for this community. And yeah, so just wanted to bring that forward.
And I thank you for that. Oh, yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Debbie. Debbie, is there any chance that CIBC would send someone out to a public meeting to hear the concerns of the people and how it's going to impact the village?
Yes, actually, in the written paper that I looked at, or that I have a copy of, which I didn't bring, the FCAC, which is, I can't think of actually what it stands for, financial something or other. They can look into it if there are complaints as to anything like this happening where people haven't been notified or consulted. And if you look on it, it says, I think customers were not consulted. Municipality was not consulted. This was a higher level, probably looking at profits. But having worked there for 25 years, I can certainly tell you that that little branch was very profitable. So I will get that information for the FCAC, and letters can be sent in. At some point, they will probably send somebody out, which may be November. It's kind of too late to consult if you've already made the decision. And I don't know whether they'll have it in a central area or whether they'll just be at the branch and people can come in and make comment, whatever. But I will get that information and let people know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business? I don't see any hands. So we have now a scheduled closed session meeting, and we need a motion to go into closed session. That is that the council for the municipality of Middlesex Centre adjourn to closed session at 9:57 pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, to discuss the following matters. Under section 239(2)(b), personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And this is reference to CAO annual review. So I'll look for a mover, please. Deputy Mayor Brennan and Councillor Shipley, all in favor? And that is carried. We'll just wait for us to sign off and then we'll resume in closed.